10 years. Holy crap, if I ever imagined 10 years of this absolutely insane story. Lightning speed was like a strike of lightning, pun absolutely intended. During a time when I threw absolutely every idea I had at the wall and absolutely nothing stuck, I didn't think I'd find anything that would actually become something. Then, one ordinary day late in the summer of 2010, Lightning Speed was born. These days it's known by a new name, Diametrics, but it's still the same at heart. I just think everything it's not the same in anything else. So I was scratching my head thinking of what to do for this monumental 10th anniversary. Just then, it hit me. You all never got to experience the rest of Lightning Speed 1. So for the people that have never experienced this train wreck of a series, I'm taking you on the grand tour of Lightning Speed 1. Then I'll also talk about the short-lived LS2 at the end before finally talking a bit about Diametrics and the future of the series. We have to get through LS1 before we can do that, though. Ready? If you say yes, you're really not. Let's go. I am going to have to be painfully truthful talking about Lightning Speed 1, right down to some of the most embarrassing details. Lightning Speed was born out of boredom and Sonic Adventure DX. Like, actually. I was just really bored and wanted to do something dumb, so because I was a dumb 14-year-old with no common sense, I decided to take Sonic Adventure, cast random characters I made up on the spot over top of some of the cast, and make a story out of it inside of the game. Sonic turned into Jake, Amy turned into Rose, because originality was kinda dead, not gonna lie. Knuckles turned into Mandy, and Tails turned into both Scylla and Naomi. I was kind of struggling toward the end. There was also a lot of other stuff down the line that took inspiration from the rest of the Sonic franchise, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Little did I know, these characters were about to become one of the most monumental stories I'd ever create. So, I goofed around for a while, and I kept using Sonic Adventure for pretty much everything. Eventually, I realized I was doing this so much, the series was developing a path of its own. That was when I decided to pull the best of what I was doing and compile it into what became known as the first season of Lightning Speed 1. Lightning Speed 1 ran on a season episode structure. Some episodes were part of story arcs and some were just filler. Kinda like an anime or something. Calling LS1 an anime might be giving it too much credit, though. So what made it into the first season? Well, you're about to find out. Welcome to the grand tour of Lightning Speed. The very first episode of Lightning Speed, my gosh, calling it that makes me feel weird, was aptly named the Lightning Speed Team. It was essentially a slapped-together pilot of sorts that was supposed to tell the origin of this superhero team made up of Jake, Rose, Mandy, Scylla, and Naomi.
My name is Jake. Jacob Byron Speed, if you want to get technical about it. Of course, technical is my dad in a nutshell. He's an inventor that lets logic rule his life. I must really bug him. Me, I defy logic. I was born with the gift of incredible speed. My mom passed when I was 7, so basically I tend to spend more time with my friends. They all have superpowers too. Scylla Langston has the power of flight, Rose Montoya can pull mallets from thin air, Naomi Elson is a teen super inventor, and Mandy Alden has super strength. Together we form the super crime-stopping team, the Lightning Speed Team. This episode was put together after most of the other episodes in the season simply because of the nature of how Lightning Speed came into being, and I'm not gonna mince words, it was super short. In fact, that last excerpt was a fifth of the length of the entire story. Not lying. Essentially, the story hurriedly introduces the main characters, then rushes a basic bank robbery plot before ending on a non-ending. "This isn't over yet, kid," she groaned. "In fact, it's only the beginning." I only smiled. That was exactly what I needed. "That was amazing!" Rose exclaimed. "It was that evening back in the virtual city, Virtuala." "Hey, Rose, I was kind of thinking back to that superhero thing. We should do it," I said. "Yeah," Rose cheered in triumph. "Sounds like a plan to me," said Mandy. It was settled. That day we became the Lightning Speed Team. That meant many more adventures and many more stories to be told.
You'll notice that I'm not going to be giving Lightning Speed 1 a lot of compliments. That's because Lightning Speed 1 was awful, and it's going to take everything I have in me to even talk about it. Let's talk about our main characters, though. How well are we introduced to them here? First is the poster boy himself, Jake Speed. We probably get the most information on Jake out of anyone here. At the same time, though, I couldn't actually tell you much of anything about who Jake actually is, just going off of this one story alone. He smirks as he knocks a gun out of a guy's hand, sure, but he doesn't do much else to actually gauge a personality from.
I burst through the double doors and found myself face to face with one of the criminals. He pointed his gun straight at my head, but I simply smirked as I quickly knocked it out of his hands.
Jake is essentially a badly written Sonic the Hedgehog that has an angsty backstory and a dad that doesn't care about him. That's essentially his entire personality, and it doesn't get better from there.
We could be superheroes, Rose cheered. Just think about it. The action, the adventure, the romance. I cringed at the last one. Rose had been obsessively crushing on me for a long time, and it was kind of creepy.
Wow, look! Rose is a badly written Amy Rose! What a shocker! And...
We can't fight, you guys, Scylla jumped in. We're friends, right? We can think of something to do.
I say Scylla was derived from Tails, but she might as well have been derived from Cream the Rabbit, because she's a badly written version of that, except she isn't a child. The other two characters get absolute bupkis as far as personalities go. Naomi shows up for 2 seconds just to tell everyone about the bank robbery and get the plot going, and nothing about her personality is revealed. As for Mandy, she gets the worst treatment of all of them. She has one line at the very end of the story and isn't even present for anything but that. Way to go, me. Really getting your characters introduced, huh? There's also our first recurring villain introduced here, Eve. Eve was modeled heavily after Rouge the Bat, right down to being a thief with a pair of bat wings. Eve has no personality, though, beyond, ooh, I'm evil, ha ha ha. It's awful, and Eve is probably the most pointless villain in the series.
Suddenly, a young woman strutted in from the back and leaped up onto one of the counters. This is what I've got to deal with? She inquired, looking straight at me with ice-blue eyes. I stared back at her with my ocean blue eyes as I said, Are you afraid to fight? Oh, not at all, came the reply. Suddenly, a pair of jet-black wings appeared from a device on her back. There was no turning back now.
Next, we actually come to what was the first Lightning Speed episode for real, Into the Jungle. Now, though, we also come to a point where remembering is actually going to get kind of hard. You see, younger me was a lazy bum and decided that instead of actually writing her stories, she was just going to summarize them and move on. If I could kick younger me in the back of the head for that, I absolutely would. Now, every Lightning Speed story does have a full version to it, it's just not in writing. It's all in the darkest recesses of my memories with only these largely unhelpful summaries to go off of. Sorry about that. Into the Jungle introduced our second villain to the series, Iolana. Iolana is a girl that lived in the jungle all her life and was left all alone at the age of 6 when her mother died. Her goal is to kill anyone that enters her jungle because unexplained reason. To put it bluntly, she's a wholly uninteresting jungle savage. The conflict of Into the Jungle revolved around Jake getting stuck in this jungle that I guess is right near his hometown because, hey, Sonic Adventure did it, why can't I? He then encounters Iolana, who tries to kill him. He escapes, and that's the end. That's gonna be how a lot of these earlier episodes go. Thing happens, conflict resolves, nothing else happens. Episode 3 gets a bit more complex, though. The premise of this one is that Eve builds a base in the jungle, because, wow, Sonic Adventure has an evil base in the jungle, let's just that then. And Iolana gets really mad about it. Meanwhile, Jake finds out about this base and goes to infiltrate it only to get captured. Iolana then gets into the base, wrecks a bunch of stuff, and actually teams up with Jake to take down Eve. Out of everything in Season 1, this is probably the best episode with the most potential to it, not gonna lie. Then we get to Episode 4, Naomi Goes Bad. Remember how I said I was going to have a hard time talking about LS1? Well, that's for 2 reasons that are perfectly foreshadowed in Episode 4. For one, the plot lines get really convolutedly stupid and cringy. Oh no, this character we only saw for 2 seconds at the start of the series who's supposedly Jake's friend is evil now. Oh no! The premise of Episode 4 is that Naomi creates a monster. The rest of the team chastises her for making this monster, so she suddenly decides she's going to be evil and destroy a city. Jake and the team stop her and send her to jail. It's dumb, it doesn't make sense, and I can't even deal with it. That's not even the biggest reason I'm going to have a hard time talking about LS1, though. Reason 2, and the biggest reason delving back into LS1 is going to be an enormous ordeal for me, Lightning Speed 1 got way too risky with subject matter it had no idea how to handle with any kind of grace or tact. Yeah, Upcoming warning for suicide. Skip to the timestamp on the screen to not have to hear about it. So, Naomi decides that while she's in jail, she's just going to commit suicide for no reason, with no buildup and no consequences. I cannot stress enough how wrong this is. Never, ever write something like this, period. Suicide isn't a toy to be thrown around lightly. I'm going to spoil the big twist now, though. It's not actually Naomi that committed suicide. Heck, it wasn't even Naomi that created the monster. We found out later that it was actually, get ready for it, her evil twin sister that no one ever knew about. Needless to say, I want to beat younger me over the head with a baseball bat. We're going to do the next few episodes rapid fire now because I don't have all day to dwell on every single episode. Ready? Here we go. Episode 5, The Rise of Dahlia. Jake rescues this girl named Dahlia from a fire only to have this girl get robot parts to replace the mutilated parts of her body and come after him and his friends to try to kill them for no reason other than the fact that she can. There's also another girl here that is just randomly part of the Lightning Speed team now, Rita. Rita's a waterbender with zero personality. The only thing she's actually here for is to heal Mandy with her Healy water after Dahlia shoots her. Wow, look! The first time Mandy's actually relevant! Ooh! Episode 6, Scylla is framed. Scylla starts committing crimes around the city, but Jake quickly finds out it's actually an evil double of Scylla named Nyla. Nyla then somehow manages to get everyone thrown in jail where they meet a firebender named Gabe that also pretty much has zero personality. Gabe helps them break out of the jail boiling rock style and they go take down Nyla. Yeah, I took stuff from Avatar: The Last Airbender. It was really obvious, too. Episode 7, Hannah Returns. Who's Hannah? What is she returning from? Okay, I have to take a second here to explain something very crucial. Lightning Speed wasn't the only series I had going on at this time. I had a second series that actually started way before Lightning Speed and would actually wind down very early in Lightning Speed's lifespan, revolving around another set of superhero characters known as the Wonder Girls, and believe me, you're going to hear them come up constantly as we go on. This episode was actually part of a story arc from that series that got crossed over into Lightning Speed. That story arc revolved around Hannah, the younger sister of the lead Wonder Girl, going evil. The Wonder Girls had to stop her, and at the end of it all, she had her mind wiped and she was dumped somewhere else. Well, that somewhere else turned out to be Jake's hometown of Delmont Square. Jake finds Hannah and decides to help her get back her memories, not knowing that these memories were actually of her trying to destroy her friends and family. This one is really a blur because not a lot of it actually pertains to Lightning Speed. Why it even had to be included in the actual Lightning Speed canon is a mystery to me. The only thing that really matters is the team gets yet another new member, Isabella Monroe! Spelled like Isabella, but pronounced like Isabella because something dumb. I'm just going to call her Isabel because that's what I eventually changed her name to for LS2. Isabel was also a product of the Wonder Girl series, believe it or not. She also had a talking sword named Ardenhurst because heck if I couldn't let go of my Sonic references in Sonic and the Black Knight. Yes, that's essentially the story of how she got the sword and what the sword actually acts like. I'm not joking. As for Isabel, she's boring and her only personality trait is that she's always right. Starting to see a pattern yet? Episode 8, The Ghost of the Past. Only one episode after she's killed, because yes, she was killed, Hannah comes back as a super powerful ghost and starts wreaking havoc again. The Wonder Girls call the Lightning Speed team in to help for some reason I don't even know, but the entire situation is diffused immediately by Naomi, who reveals the whole twin sister plot twist I mentioned earlier. This episode means absolutely nothing and it's pointless. Episode 9, The Origin of Ardenhurst. There's a wizard that I guess exists now and he kidnaps Isabel. Ardenhurst begs Jake to help him save Isabel, so Jake helps rescue Isabel. The disruption causes a huge battle, though, and Ardenhurst breaks during it. He suddenly comes back as a human, though, and explains his pointless backstory. Something about being cursed to become a sword until he can give his life selflessly for someone else. In the end, though, he decides to turn back into a sword again and stay with Isabel. Nothing is accomplished, the wizard is never brought up again, and nothing about this episode actually matters. Except when it actually does. Keep this in mind. Episode 10, Welcome to Dubose. Oh boy. Oh boy. So, this is how this story actually starts.
Jake is on one of his runs when he suddenly runs into Dahlia. Well, would you look who it is? What are you up to, Dahlia? Nothing until you came around. Now I think I'm going to kill you. I'd like to see you try. With pleasure. Dahlia lunges toward Jake, but Jake dodges her every blow. He soon has her defeated. I'll get you at some point, Speed. Fat chance. Jake races off. He stops just before entering Delmont Square. Is this really what things have come to? When I decided to become a superhero, I thought there'd be much more of a challenge to it. I guess there isn't, though. Maybe I should leave. I'm probably needed more somewhere else anyway. What about everyone else, though? I guess they'll be okay on their own. All right, it's settled then. Jake shoots off in the opposite direction of Delmont Square.
So, one season into Lightning Speed, I decided I didn't have enough to do in the fantastical land of Ilya, so I sent Jake to the real world. No kidding. He ends up in a small town in rural Oklahoma.
I don't know what happened to me. Where am I? You're on the Thomas farm just outside of Dubose, Oklahoma.
That's not the only thing going on, though. No, there's also a little girl named Brenda that shows up out of nowhere searching for Jake because I don't even know. She is a pendant that houses an evil entity known as the Dark Evil, an entity which she serves.
What was that? It was so cold. No, colder than cold. Yet at the same time it felt weird. That thing is just evil. That was no ordinary feeling. It was an uncontrollable, all-consuming evil. I just knew there was something up with Brenda. I should tell someone, though. They might think I'm crazy. Maybe I am crazy.
That she frees the Dark Evil. Great. So Jake is actually in another town in Ilya when the Dark Evil looms on the horizon, and it's some random little girl there that sends him to the real world. She never even gets a name. Granted, she does have a name, she just never gets named in Lightning Speed because once again, she, Brenda, and the Dark Evil come from the Wonder Girl series. Go figure. Once Jake gets to the real world, he's taken in by the Thomas family on their farm and he makes friends with their kid, Timothy. This friendship isn't developed, it just exists. Then, a brainwashed Mandy attacks them out of nowhere. Then,
each day after the incident with Mandy, Jake encountered another one of his friends, each of whom tried to attack him. Jake suspects that something is up, but he doesn't know exactly what.
Isn't exposition great? Isabel finds him shortly after, and the two of them have a talk about Jake getting transported to another dimension and the Dark Evil. Timothy also heard the whole thing through the door, even though he wasn't supposed to, because no one from the real world is supposed to know about Ilya.
You don't understand. This interdimensional stuff has to be kept secret, or there could be devastating consequences. Ilya is militarily unprepared for a large-scale attack, which is exactly what could happen if the wrong person here found out. Anyone to bear this secret cannot, under any circumstances, tell anyone else unless absolutely necessary. Got it?
This is a plot point that will be stretched to heck and back in the future, so remember it. So after that, Brenda shows up at the house, on a completely different day, mind you, and unleashes the Dark Evil on Jake. The Dark Evil beats up Jake and Isabel pretty badly, only to be taken down by the child. Wonderful. Isabel stabs it, it dies, and Brenda warps away. Then the child is accepted into the Lightning Speed team, and everyone decides to stay in the very boring town of Dubose. And that was Lightning Speed Season 1. Now we only have like 40 seasons to go. Yeah, there's a lot of Lightning Speed 1. Double what I actually posted to the internet. Get ready for that. So now the big question comes to mind. Did Lightning Speed start off well? I think you already know the answer. It's no. Out of our main 5 characters, only 3 of them are actually relevant to anything, and even then, Mandy is only for an insignificant thing. That leaves only Jake and Naomi doing anything plot relevant. Syl only gets some doubtful lines in the finale, and Rose gets absolutely zilch. Rose is less important than the non-characters that join the team after her, and that's saying something. As for our villains, they stink. Iolana is probably the best of them, and she hardly qualifies as an actual villain. Eve and Dahlia at this point have absolutely zero personality, and Brenda? Pfft, Brenda never shows up again in the entire series. I'm not lying. The world of Ilya is also horrifically underdeveloped and shunted to the wayside for another world very quickly. Spoiler alert, that doesn't change. Ever. This is the end of part 1, though. This is obviously going to be a very long series, so this is where I'm cutting off the first part. Join us next time for Season 2 and beyond.